WorldSkills UK brings together education, industry and governments across 4 nations, and we operate as part of a global network that uses international benchmarking and also professional development to raise standards for individuals, skill systems and employers. As a proud member of WorldSkills International, which is more than just a skills competition, it's a platform for translating global excellence into national workforce capability and also for accelerating how quickly TVET responds to changing skills demand. Today's session is really exciting because it's going to focus on some of the core challenges around global workforce development through TVET, specifically in the plumbing and heating industry. And the reason why this is so important, because we know that there are a number of acute challenges that's affecting the industry with regards to technological change, sustainability requirements, and also the widening skills shortages. We'll not only explore why TVET systems need to evolve, but also how we can do this more effectively, drawing on insights from the WorldSkills global community. Our panellists are part of this global community, and I'll be introducing them shortly. And they're also contributing to the Skills Forum that's taken place this week in Hall 4. The Skills Forum brings together experts and competitors from 16 countries and nations, all preparing for the next WorldSkills international competition in Shanghai next year in plumbing and heating. I urge you all to go and have a look and meet the experts and competitors as they prepare for their last leg to compete internationally. And while that is very important, it's about recognising that that pipeline from training to international benchmarking through to system improvement is central to today's discussion. So, with that, can I firstly invite Chintan Daya from India, WorldSkills International Test Project Designer and Assessor for Plumbing and Heating. I'd now like to invite Csilla. Csilla Szigetvári is our plumbing and heating expert from Hungary. And then finally, but no means least, Maria Bøhnke from Divers, DE&I, representing Denmark, leading transformation programs that seek to bridge the gap between vocational education and employment.
All the world's a stage, and it's set for you to show us all what you can do. Our world needs skilled professionals more than ever.
And WorldSkills is where the best and brightest young skilled talent from around the world gather to compete in 60 technical and vocational skills across 6 industry sectors.
We have 1,500 of the most talented young people, and I can tell you the future looks bright.
These young people will produce amazing work in only 4 days.
This is the global stage for skills.
You truly are the change makers. Go forward knowing that we believe in you.
WorldSkills as an organisation is known for the competition, but we're actually a global movement that does good around the world in helping communities, companies, countries.
This is an organisation that builds excellence in young people.
Actually, it's already changing my life. The competition gave me a way.
It has helped me to gain confidence.
These things that I've learned could benefit me for the rest of my career.
It's so fantastic to give your passion, and at the same time you learn and you grow, individually and collectively. And it's another world.
Well, hopefully that's set a bit of a scene for the discussion that's going to occur over the next period of time. I'm really excited to be joined by an amazing panel, and we are going to explore a number of different topics, particularly around TVET and its role in changing standards and moving at pace. So let's start with our first fundamental question, which is looking at the workforce challenge and TVET's role. So Specifically, I'd love to come into you, Chintan, for you to kind of share with us how can TVET institutions adapt more quickly to the changing plumbing industry needs, particularly around those new technologies, sustainability, and modern building systems?
Yeah, Parisa, the thing is that most of these TVETs and these institutions, in India, where I come from back home, we have a national council which governs, how these curriculum and how the syllabus are designed. And I would not call it unfortunate, but it's a very traditional method in which it's a multi-year program where the designs are made, the syllabus is decided. They involve the industry, yes, but it's on a very annual or a biannual basis where the industry is brought in. And the way the technology is evolving, the way things are speeding up, I think it requires more of a modular approach and more of an industrial approach, which needs to be more agile and dynamic, and it needs to be constantly updated to make sure that we are abreast with the technology and what the young generation really requires. So, rather than going for a multi-year, a year annual program or 2 years or 3 years of program of plumbing, I think it would be ideal to have more of modular agile programs as compared to what we've been traditionally doing.
Absolutely. And I think just thinking about your context, Csilla, what's your kind of take on this situation?
Yeah, I think the schools need to use the WorldSkills standards as a guide. So in our profession, all new technologies and modern systems are changing year by year. And every year, every WorldSkills, we refresh our test projects and also the technical description for these modern technologies. And as an expert, I can be the bridge. As an expert, I can be the bridge between the high standards, modern technology, and the schools, or for giving my knowledge to the new generations. So I think WorldSkills can be a shortcut, so can make easier for the schools how they can change in this really fast world, because the textbooks and also the training books and the schools are not so fast like our technology.
Absolutely, and for those that are familiar with UK education and training, we will be aware that the pace at which standards and qualifications are updated isn't as quick, it's not happening as quickly as technologies are changing, or the needs of industry are adapting and evolving very quickly. So ultimately, from a Hungarian perspective, you're looking at how you can leverage that WorldSkills standard to bring that back into your teaching practice.
Yes, we are using this whole, this way. So we are using the whole WorldSkills standards. And also, I'm using as a trainer the occupational standards, what we are developing year by year. And the new generation is really curious and hungry for the new technologies and for the new knowledge.
Brilliant. And it's really great to see how in Hungary you're being that bridge between that global standard and actually your national standard, and actually looking at how you close that gap internationally. So actually everyone is striving for excellence.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Thank you so much. Now, as we kind of segue into, I think, a topic that's really important for many of us in this room, really keen for us to explore aspects of equity, diversity and inclusion, particularly within the plumbing and heating industry. So I'm really keen to come to you, Maria, first, to help kind of shed some light on if this industry is serious about addressing workforce shortages, it must attract talent from a broader range of backgrounds. What are those practical actions that TVET providers, employers and organisations such as WorldSkills take to improve ED&I?
Well, I think in all honesty, we need to look at the entire pipeline really. Say a young woman, which is the demographic that I work mostly with bringing more women into plumbing and heating, more women into building and construction and installment industry, really. Is it even a possibility for a young woman today? Does she know that a career in plumbing is actually possible for her? Are TVET institutions or TVET providers ready to actually welcome a new set of students and what they've been doing for decades? Are employers ready to welcome employees that might look different, who might require something else from them? I think we need to look at that entire pipeline if we're going to address this issue, really, of the gender gap that we see in plumbing and heating. We of course need to work with attracting more female talent, more diverse talent, but we also need to work with the retention of that talent. We need to make sure that young women or girls even who are aspiring and this might take on an apprenticeships are content within the industry with the culture that they are part of, so that they want to stay there for a longer time and not drop out after 1 year, 2 years without even finishing maybe their education. And my number one advice I want to say if we want to start this journey is really that we need to work in a gender-aware method, with a gender-aware method. That means that we need to first and foremost assess and acknowledge that there are issues with gender in this industry, that there are very, very few women, very, very few men. That doesn't necessarily mean, that's not necessarily a problem, but it can lead to obstacles along the way. And I think one of the things that we've been successful with in the work that we've been doing in the project that I'm representing today, which is called Boss Ladies, is actually taking, because ED&I work can be very complex, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's also super simple. So it can be something like making sure that we have workwear, shoes, tools, that fits both a male body but also a female body that might be changing, going through a pregnancy, for instance. It's also about making sure that we have the right facilities on site. That's at the TVET institutions, out in the companies, in competition spaces, for instance, at the international competitions, WorldSkills, EuroSkills, making sure that there are toilets, proper bins to dispose of menstruational products, making sure you don't have to change in front of your male colleagues or co-competitors, all those sorts of things. And of course there's also the idea of changing the entire narrative, so that when we close our eyes and imagine a plumber, that we don't necessarily think of a man, but that it will be just as normal to think of a woman occupying this skill or this trade. That obviously takes a little bit longer, but yeah.
Thank you, Maria. And I think one of the points, you've hit a number of succinct points there, but particularly around visibility. You know, I'm a firm believer that you need to see it to be it. Exactly. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Csilla. Would you like to just respond to that question as well?
So I have a similar opinion like Maria, but I think the most important thing to change the image of the plumbing and also heating, because our skills name is plumbing and heating. But many young people and also their parents think still plumbing is a heavy physical job and a dirty situation they have, so it's not a comfortable profession. I think this old ID keeps away the talent, so especially women. Of course, there are some personal experience, for example, like me, because my father was also a plumber, so when I was young, every summer I needed to work with the guys on a construction. But of course it's not the opportunity for every young talent. So I think we need to say thanks for the manufacturers who produce easier tools and equipments, and so using these tools we can show also for ladies that not necessary to have really huge physical strengths. What they really need is logic and precision for doing this job. So we can make this job more fashionable. We can show that it could be a high quality job with high quality tools. So it could be also an elite career, I think.
Brilliant. Thank you so much both. Thinking about the number of lessons that we're able to kind of learn from one another, if I can come to each of you just to kind of share what your kind of take will be on if you were to provide a successful initiative that you've seen that's made the plumbing and heating industry more inclusive as a career choice, what would that be? Chintan, come to you.
So a classic glowing, shining example would be the WorldSkills Africa capacity building program that the WorldSkills International and WorldSkills Africa gave me the opportunity to be involved with. So here it wasn't about a gender inclusion or a background inclusion. It was more about being inclusive towards the ones who are the ones who will be influencing people, the ones who are the trainers, the master trainers of these countries. So there were 7 African countries involved in that, and the whole idea was that we wanted them to these master trainers came in from their countries, and we wanted them to be brought up to that level where they are abreast with the technology, they're abreast with what's going on around in the world. We wanted to create a uniform platform where they rise up to that level and they go back to their countries as ambassadors of plumbing and heating, and they make it look a little more aspirational towards the youth that they are going to influence. And it was not only about training these trainers with plumbing and heating per se. It was more about even making them more independent towards designing frameworks. How do you design a framework for a competition, or how do you design a framework for assessment, and how do you design standards on your own that you do not rely on some international standard or something of that sort, where the WorldSkills occupational standard was the benchmark guideline, and they could Africanize it the way they want it as per their country. So that's the biggest initiative, I would say.
And an absolute game changer in terms of building that capacity within a nation, countries as well. Thank you so much for sharing. Maria, what one thing would you suggest?
Well, actually coming back to some of the things that Csilla mentioned as well, I want to highlight the work that we do in Boss Ladies really, and the work that we do in Boss Ladies Europe, which is now an international project. Obviously, with the few women being employed in the plumbing sector, you often find that you're the only one there, you're the only one in school, you're the only one out in construction site, you're the only one in your company, you're the only expert a female expert at a WorldSkills competition. And what we do with Boss Ladies is really gathering those women from not only plumbing, but from all of the building, installation, construction industry, giving them that female classmate or a female colleague, not necessarily from where they live or where they work, but knowing that they have each other all across Denmark, where I come from, but now also all across Europe, to give them that network to share their passion really about the trade that they're in, about their skill, but also some of the obstacles that they face on a daily basis. And what we do with this network is also train them as role models for the future generation really, so that we are able to change that image of who a plumber is and what the plumbing industry is. And one of the ways that we use those role models really is in WorldSkills, or in the skills movement. So at the recent EuroSkills competition in Herning, we brought our ambassadors. I think we were 20 or something, and we built an embassy for our ambassadors to be in, where we showcase the skills maybe a little differently, opening them up, inviting young people in, boys and girls, in front of a choice of education, showing them what these skills can be, what a career can be in these skills, but also letting really the ambassadors do the talking, sharing their stories to the young people, telling about what does a normal day look like for a plumber, for instance, but also sharing the stories obviously to the industry as a whole, policymakers, people who can really make a difference at a different level.
Absolutely, and that goes back to my point earlier around seeing is believing and the power of role modelling. Csilla, would you like to provide comment? Because I think you were talking earlier around like that peer-to-peer support.
Let me answer with a personal example again.
Absolutely.
One of my former competitor who won silver medal at WorldSkills is nowadays a teacher in a vocational training school, in a technical school, and he is the bridge, and he gives his high-tech knowledge or world-class knowledge directly back to the new generation. But on the other part, he is also a businessman, so he has his own plumbing business, and he is working in the industry with the newest technology and with the modern tools. So he can be a really good example because he is only just 24 years old, so he is almost in the same age like the other guys who are his students. And they are really close to each other, so he can motivate all young guys or girls to choose this profession as a lifestyle too, and as a high career too.
That's brilliant. It really is powerful, especially where you're drawing on the competitors that have been, represented your country, then bring them back, and then they're still involved in the system. It just creates that ecosystem, doesn't it?
Yeah, we are really proud of them.
Absolutely, you can see. Well done. So, kind of thinking about opportunity and change. If, as a panel, you could all change one thing tomorrow to strengthen the global plumbing workforce pipeline, what would that be? Chintan?
I was kind of inspired from the earlier session, where they were talking about, do we need a license to plumb? And so one thing that I would like to change really is, maybe tomorrow or in the coming future, is having something more like a global skill passport, not just a license, but a passport where it sounds really fantastical, like out from a fairy tale or something, but that's what I always think, that there should be a global standard where everybody's got the same license and are at the same level, so they can go anywhere in the world and carry out the work which is set at a fixed parameter at that benchmark. And that's something which I've also found more importantly is that plumbing people do not, it's not only for gender, as Maria and Csilla said, that you need to make it aspirational for that, for the females. At the same time, I also found it's not very aspirational for males also in a lot of countries. And there's not like many people who say that, oh, you know what, I'm going to grow up and become a plumber. So when I talk to a lot of these young plumbers, whenever I'm addressing them, I always, I'm very curious to find out why did, someone become a plumber? Because being a fourth generation plumber myself, I find it really curious. Like, I probably had that hereditary pressure maybe somewhere that I too had to become a plumber someday. But then I try to find out, and people are usually, oh, you know what, I just wanted to save water, and they give these inspirational answers which I really find, not really true. I say, okay, now that you're a plumber, would you be interested in making your child a plumber as well? And usually the answer is in negative. So yeah, not many plumbers themselves want their children to become plumbers. And I ask them, why would that be? Because what do you want them to be otherwise? So you get different answers, like an astronaut or an engineer or a doctor, anything. And coming back to what we were just in the earlier session, where it was said, the plumber kind of protects the health of the nation. I strongly believe in the statement where we say prevention is better than cure. And we were hearing about cases where Kevin said about Legionnaires' diseases and the scalding issues and everything. So a plumber is really, when we think about it that way, he or she prevents anything untoward happening towards the health, while a doctor cures. So I tell people this example and they're like, oh yeah, a plumber is better than a doctor then. So you know what, I'll make my child a plumber now. But then again, to become a plumber as compared to a doctor, what does it take? A doctor goes through a struggle literally when you talk about academic pathway that he or she takes. For a plumber, what does it take? I've seen in some countries, all it takes is like someone mentioned a few minutes ago in the earlier session is they can make a plumber in 5 days. Why would anybody even spend 5 days? In some countries, we have people who can just go and buy a pipe wrench and a screwdriver and call themselves a plumber. Wow. So that's the unscrupulous kind of irregularities which happen. So in a realistic world, this is where I would like to bring them all up at the same level and be having a global passport for plumbing.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chintan. Csilla, what one thing would you change tomorrow?
If I could change only one thing tomorrow, I would focus on training of teachers. They are the connection between the industry and the new generation, between the students. So we need to give them the knowledge, and we need to show them how they need to teach it for the new generation. So without world-class workforce, it's a really good sentence in my mind. You cannot build a world-class workforce without world-class teachers or instructors. So we need to ask the manufacturers to give the explanation to the teachers and also the training programs to the teachers, how they need to teach the new technologies to them.
Absolutely. There is often a significant gap between
it's a huge gap.
What's happening in industry to actually what's being taught in colleges, training providers across the country, but also it's a global challenge. It's not just a UK specific or Hungarian challenge, actually it's a global challenge.
I think also the same, that it's a global problem.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Csilla. Maria, what one thing would you change?
Well, I think really drawing on both what Csilla's mentioned and also what Chintan's mentioning is making it more accessible, changing the image, making it an industry really that the young generation would want to be a part of and that the parents would gladly send them into. I think we need to, what I would change is really for the industry to come together and face that problem and say, okay, enough is enough. We need to seize the opportunity for attracting this potential that there is, female potential or really any potential that there is out there, and also break with those barriers that are hindering accessing this talent. And I think to me, and from where I come and from the work that we've done, it's really acknowledging some of those cultural difficulties that there is within this industry as well. It goes both for the schools, with the teachers, the standards, the companies, and really creating that change alliance that looks into all of the different aspects of it if we are serious about attracting more talent. It probably won't happen tomorrow, but if we're persistent, I do believe that we can make a change.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think you'll all agree the panel has been brilliant. A massive thank you for your insights and global perspectives. Can we have a little round of applause? So today's discussion has highlighted both the scale of the workforce challenge, but also the opportunity to rethink just how TVET systems, industry and global networks can work together to respond. What stands out is that excellence does not happen in isolation, and it's built through collaboration, benchmarking, and a shared commitment to raising standards. With that in mind, please don't forget we have the amazing Skills Forum taking place in Hall 4, which is a powerful example of that in action. A global community coming together not just to exchange ideas, but also to build capability and define what world-class looks like in practice. And importantly, it's really essential to recognise that this is not an abstract thing. It's about the visibility in the individuals that this system produces. The impact is deeply human, and as a reference point, 9 out of 10 WorldSkills champions report, off the back of their experience in international competition, increased confidence alongside real progression into employment, further training, and I would say most importantly, leadership opportunities. And as we just draw to a close here, I'd like to welcome two outstanding additional examples to this. So Wei-Ling Sung from China and Ruben Duggan from the UK, recent gold and silver medalists at the WorldSkills Plumbing and Heating Competition in Lyon 2024. Do you want to join us on stage? And let's all stand up and give these guys a round of applause. Thank you, Wei-Ling. Thank you, Ruben. It's really important to recognise that this week both Ruben and Wei-Ling are here as mentors for the competitors, supporting the next generation, and that ultimately is the value of the WorldSkills movement, creating opportunities for a continuous cycle of excellence, learning, leadership that strengthens systems and also the next gen. Massive thank you to everybody. Final calls to action. Please do go and visit the experts, the competitors in Hall 4 and speak to the amazing talent that's there just to learn a little bit more about what's happening within the global network. And also for those that don't know, we work in partnership with BPEC and we run the Skill Plum national competition. So any employers or providers in the audience, please do engage with our national competitions programme, which then generates competitors that then go out to represent the UK internationally. Massive thank you to everybody. Cheers.